Okay, for this chapter, I'm going to just jump into the assignments because I think we can pretty much cover the important parts of the chapter in talking about these assignments. So it's very important that you not only keep track of your own personal banking accounts, so making sure that your deposits are correct, you're writing the checks out correctly and then taking them out of your checkbook balance, and that you're reconciling with the bank statement, but it's even important for clinics and businesses, obviously, to keep track of this as well. And that's what this chapter is talking about, and that's what some of your assignments are based here. So what I did is you don't have any outside of your workbook assignments for this chapter other than your spring charts exercises. So what I did is I did a paper version of the pictures of the bank deposit and checks and those kinds of things that are in your workbook. So if you don't have a scanner or you don't want to drop off the paper ones, you can actually just do something that is set up like this, like I'm showing you here, and that shows me that you've done the work and it gives me the information that I need to grade your portion or grade this portion of your assignment. So the other stuff that's from your workbook, you can throw into a Word document just like this one, but just make sure that you're labeling the headings like I have them in red here, so I can tell the difference between what portions you're showing me and I know exactly what you're talking about. You don't want to get points off because I'm confused. Okay, so the competency practice is a little bit tricky. Hopefully you guys, like I said, keep track of your own bank statements. I know there's a lot of people out there that just don't even pay attention to it, even though everything is online and so easy to keep track of now. I know lots of people that don't do it, how they don't get assessed overdraft fees and how they even have a clue of how much money they have. I have no idea. But it's good practice to look at your checkbook register and balance that against the bank's register. So reconciling it to make sure that the amounts that you have are the amounts that the bank has, and the amount that the bank has is what you have. So way easier to keep your balances in tab if you do that on a continual basis. Okay, so writing checks shouldn't be that difficult. This first portion here, so this right here is the stub, the check stub. So put in the date, put in who the check is being written to, the balance brought forward from the checking account, which is given to you in your scenario, the total, then after subtracting out the amount of this check, the amount of this check, and I guess that covers it. So that is the stub part of the check. The next bottom portion, I just simplified. This would be the actual check itself. So date the check, write it out to the person it needs to go to, so pay to the order of, and fill in where the check is being written to, the amount of the check, and then a signature. That one's pretty straightforward, very easy to do. The next one is pretty easy as well. So preparing a bank deposit, you want to, you have a front part of your bank deposit slip, which they show you in your workbook. You also have, a back half of your bank deposit slip, and they show you that in the workbook as well. So between the workbook and what I'm showing you here, it should be really easy for you to understand. So on the front portion then of that deposit, you need to have a date of the deposit, the total amount of the cash in your scenario, the total amount of the coins in your scenario, and then the totals together of the cash and the coin. Then what you need to do is you need to list out on the back, actually, of your deposit slip, which you don't have a back of your deposit slip if you do it this way, but you can still list out the checks, so the patient name, the check number, and then the amount of that check. You want a total of all those checks that were brought in and are going on this deposit. Your scenario also lists out a money order, so you can put that on here as well. And then you have to add up your cash, your coin, your checks, and the money order, and that gives you your net deposit. So all of that money that came in is your net deposit, so the total amount of the deposit that you're going to be making at the bank that day. Okay. So then when we scroll down a little bit here, I did the last chunk of the reconciling the bank statement. This is usually the part where students get a little more confused because it's laid out kind of goofy in your workbook. But when you look at it, what they have given you is an actual bank statement, and they've given you an actual check register. you are reconciling the check register with the bank statement. That's all this is about here. So what you're going to do is on that checkbook register, you have the check number, you also have the check amount, and then you have a blank column, and that's where you're going to check off if these checks have cleared the bank. And you're going to do that by looking at the bank statement that has been given to you. You then also have the same thing for your deposits. So you have a deposit date column, the amount of that deposit, and then you have the check mark column. So when you go through the bank statement, you're going to be checking off that these deposits have indeed cleared the bank. Okay, so that's the first portion of it. The second portion of it is that you need to now figure out if there's any outstanding deposits and if there's any outstanding checks, because those need to be taken into account to make sure that your balance in your checkbook matches the balance with the bank. I filled in some of the amounts here for you. This is a pretty close replica to what you have in your workbook, that last section of this part. So your bank statement balance, your beginning bank statement balance is $5,076.98. So from there, you're going to have your outstanding deposit or deposits if there's multiple ones, and you would add those in, and then you would get a total. Now, if you have any outstanding checks or a single check, whatever the case may be, you would subtract those then from that total, and that gives you a new total. So you now have a corrected bank statement balance. The next section here is your checkbook balance. So the current balance in your checkbook is $3,173.71. Now you're subtracting the bank charges that have been charged to you, and that gives you a corrected checkbook balance. Now you can tell with the asterisks here that your corrected bank statement balance and your corrected checkbook balance should match. If they don't, you've done something wrong. You've got to go back and figure it out. But if you have balanced your own checking account, savings account, whatever the account may be, this will be easy. Clinics and companies do the same exact thing that we do personally. So all you're doing is making sure that the money that you see in your account coming in and going out is the same money that the bank sees coming in and going out. And those things have to balance. Especially important, in a clinic setting when they've got patients making payments. Those patients want to make sure that those payments get posted not only to their account, but they get through the bank as well. So their then personal account signifies that too. So it shows up on their personal account. Like I said, the most confusing portion for the students is usually the reconciling the bank statement, but hopefully I clarified it good for you guys. The biggest thing is all you're doing is taking your checkbook register and balancing it, reconciling it with the account statement, the bank statement. They have to match. So you're just checking off things that have cleared the bank in your own checkbook register. Like I said, there isn't a whole lot outside of the assignments here to go over in your chapter. It's all about making sure that you are balancing things, that you're posting things correctly, that you're getting the checks written out correctly. You're not submitting the wrong check to the wrong person for the wrong amount, and those kinds of things. Making sure that your deposits are done in a timely fashion and they're done correctly. Get receipts for all these types of things so you can look back at them if you need to. For this portion of your workbook, you can certainly do what I've done on here, is just write them out, but make sure that you have these headings like I have here. So you have writing checks at the top here, and then further down you have the deposit, and then further down you have the reconciling the bank statement. That is what tells me what section you're showing me and what section you're completing. So if you do have any questions, just let me know.